Good evening. It's February 22nd, 2025. We're in Studio 6B, and it's my honor and pleasure to be speaking with Mr. John J. Jeckovich, a true World War II veteran, primarily in the European theater from the Battle of the Bulge. Mr. Jeckovich is highly decorated World War II veteran, and he's from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division during World War II. Yes, Mr. Jeckovich believes in the motto, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. So you're looking well today, Mr. Jeckovich.
Good, thank you.
How are you feeling?
I'm good.
I heard you had a beautiful dinner with a young lady today.
Oh, yeah.
Who was that?
That was Amber.
What a beautiful young lady. Amber Nicole Jeckovich is Mr. Jeckovich's great-granddaughter, and she comes visit him several times a week. What a gem. What a true gem. I can't speak more highly of this young lady. Restores your faith in people. Restores your faith in people. Well, I'll need your dog tag number.
42965.
This is the passcode that opens up the laptop where I can start reading. We're only going to read a couple pages today because we have a lot of text, and I want to, you feel up to answer some text? Okay. All right, here we go, page 833. As Delphine acquired longer hours at the school, I was left alone for longer periods and found it difficult to get accustomed to that concept. I was out of work several times during this period, and I attempted to occupy my time with tasks about the house. Yes, you did. I really enjoyed to a degree depending on what I was involved in. I detested plumbing, so plumbing what you didn't like at all.
No.
You didn't like plumbing, right?
No.
Mainly, I suppose, because I was not very good at it. So if you're good at something, you like it. I always thought of it as a muddled work, and I did not acquire a sort of patience needed for it. So it needs great patience to be a plumber.
Yeah.
I enjoyed woodworking. That was your specialty, right?
Yeah.
You built benches and decks and restored 60 and 80-year-old
We did a lot of
remodeling, but you restored very old jukeboxes. You restored a pinball machine from the 1880s. You restored a beautiful wooden phone booth that was sitting in the Beverly Hills Hilton during World War II. A beautiful, tall oak phone booth with the lights inside and the lights outside, the sliding glass door, and with a chrome foam in there with a dial. It worked on 10 cents. And the interesting part about this piece of antique was there was different ceramic sides inside, and this is, keep in mind, it was going on while the war was going on in World War II. The sign said, buy more war bonds than you think you can afford. Okay, I got an interruption here. Do you know Bob Kamenowski from Niagara Falls, New York? Bob Kamenowski.
That sounds familiar.
He retired from Hooker Chemical 20-some years ago. Excuse me, I'm off. 48 years ago, he retired from Hooker Chemical, and he was in the Seabees during World War II. He lives on Cunnaback Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
So that name, he sent you this.
Look at that.
He says he knows you're a Trump fan. He sent you this. He sent you that. Bob Kamenowski, Seabee, World War II.
It's a coin. It's a Trump coin.
Yeah. He says he listens to
2024. What's he got 2024 for?
Well, that's when he got
elected.
Huh?
That's when he got elected. A Trump coin, when Trump got elected, it was 2024.
Turn around and show it to the people.
Huh?
Turn around and show it to people. Yeah, turn it down a little bit. Yeah, that's
Tilt it a
nice.
little bit so they could see.
Huh?
Tilt it a little bit so the audience could see.
Tilt it down.
Tilt it down. Yeah, that's
There
good.
we go. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Kamenowski from Cutterback Avenue in Niagara Falls, New York. I'm sure you bumped into him more than
I'll put
once.
that on your writing desk.
I'm
okay.
sure you bumped into him more than once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cutterback Avenue?
Yeah, he lives on Cutterback Avenue.
Yeah.
And he was in World War II as a CB, some type of
24
Navy.
minutes.
And he retired from Hooker Chemical 48 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a nice treat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I enjoyed woodworking and would spend hours in the basement with my Sears 10-inch blade saw. Grandma would be peeved at me at times and insist I find a job. No easy task for a person over 50 with limited education and work experience. Well, you had great work experience everywhere. I would scan the job screens at the unemployment office, and when I went up to sign for my employment check, but could not find something suitable or that I qualified for. In many ways, it was a forlorn period and for things to come. Grandma had retired from work. Tell us how your mother retired from work.
How she retired
Did
from
they
work?
ask her to leave?
Well, the woman that said, look, I got 3 kids at home, and this old lady's still working here. Yeah, so she gave her another year to let her go.
Okay, okay. So Grandma had retired from work, which in many ways made it more difficult to be around the house. She was around the house constantly now.
Yeah.
Yeah. She had adjusted to her retirement quite well and would watch her morning shows on television or take a bus for a day for shopping. Man, that's pretty good shape. She could take a bus and go shopping. That's pretty good. That's really, really pretty good.
In the wintertime.
Yeah, I'd be damned. I would take her some of the time or meet her at some of the designated place to drive her back home. She would prefer to be home no later than 2 p.m. so she might watch her favorite TV shows. What was her favorite TV shows?
2 o'clock in the afternoon, it was a comedy. Comedy with, I can't think of them, yeah.
But she also loved General Hospital, the soap operas.
Yeah. Ashley's Crocheting.
So she was pretty much set in her ways. She wanted to do exactly like this, right? I would occasionally go downstairs and have tea with her in the afternoon, and she would shoo me upstairs when it came time for her programs.
Yeah.
So when her programs came, she didn't want to be bothered. I envy her peace of mind and contentment despite her lonely life and lack of any real friends. It reminded me of my situation, and I often wonder if I'd be able to do as well as she if I were in her same situation. Well, she did pretty good. She had Delphine with her 24/7.
Yeah.
She lived in a nice place downstairs. She had that beautiful lazy boy in the corner, which she watched that TV, and she would always have nice tea and lunches, and she'd always be making crocheting, making afghans. So she didn't do that bad, really. Her steadfast faith, which means she was a devout and practicing Roman Catholic, I believe sustained her, and I was even more convinced of this when she became critically ill during her final 2 years of life. I would relate to Delphine how resigned of her illness she was, and her behavior was always a source of bewilderment to both of us. I never did acquire this sense of faith, or did I ever have any in my early youth. I certainly lost it in my early teens. Do you want a coffee?
No, coffee.
Is there a staff anywhere around?
Nobody's around, they're all gone.
Oh, shit. All right, well, there we go. You never hire, here, listen, folks, never hire former federal workers, because they'll put in 15 minutes and they'll disappear. That's the problem we're having. They're just, I don't want to talk about it. It's a nice day, let's just talk nice. Both my brother and sister, Steve, exhibited some semblance of Grandma's internal faith. At least they'd go through the olations of all the manifestations of displaying it. I I have yet to see any of the meekness. All right, let's see what this is.
Say, what was that?
You said Steve and your sister Sally developed some of the faith of humbleness in either one of them or any traits indicative of one who is a religious conviction. So you said you've seen some faith in Steve and your brother Steve and your sister Sally, but they still did not have the traits of being humble that a person with religious conviction would have.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be emblematic of a person of objective faith was decidedly lacking in either of beings. Perhaps I was too critical in judging them, but I can only discern and perceive my own life experiences as a final arbiter. Now, what do you think? I got several text messages. You want to go on reading?
Go ahead, yeah.
With the text messages.
Go ahead.
And if there's someone that you don't want to answer, just don't answer them. And if there's some you do, answer them. Keep in mind it's from people all around the world, so you never know. You never know. First one, Mr. Jeckovich, where were you born and raised?
Niagara Falls, New York.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, what were you doing before the war started?
I was working at Kimberly Clark.
Okay. Mr. Jeckovich, how old were you when you enlisted?
19. I was drafted. I didn't enlist, I was drafted.
Tell us the reason why you didn't enlist.
Well, because of my mother. I stayed with my mother as long as I could.
All right, to care for because your father died at 43. What branch of the military did you join, Mr. Jeckovich?
I didn't join anything. They put me in the Army.
So you were in the Army.
Army Rangers, yeah.
Where did you go for basic training?
Leavenworth.
Okay. What was your military specialty? Infantry, medic, or pilot?
Infantry.
Where were you when you heard of Mr. Jeckovich? Where were you when you heard of Pearl Harbor?
I was skating on the creek.
And then what? What happened?
Well, my mother said that they bombed Pearl Harbor.
And she says you're probably in trouble
And she
now.
said that's going to start a whole new life for you.
Probably in trouble. How did you feel about going to war?
Well, I didn't
Close the door.
17.
have much choice.
You didn't have much. You just did what you had to do.
Yeah.
No complaints. What were your initial thoughts about deployment overseas?
Deployment overseas? Why I was going overseas?
What was your initial thoughts when you got there? What did you think?
When I got there,
Yeah.
I liked the country. It was a good thing the Army sent me there because I see all Europe.
Yeah. How did you get to Europe?
I had a troop train.
Was
I had a
it-
troop bed.
How long were you on a troop train for?
Troop with 3 months.
Was it very crowded?
Well, up to your nose and the
What do you
ceiling.
mean by up to your nose?
Yeah.
You mean the cots? If you laid on a
Five
top
high,
cot,
5 high, yeah.
5 high, if you laid on a top cot, your nose would touch the roof.
Yeah.
Troop ship.
Troop ship. How was the food on a troop ship?
Well, if you stay with an American ship, it was all right, but if you got the limeys, it's greasy as hell.
And what did you have?
Most of the time we got the limeys.
And were you sick?
I didn't get sick, but I didn't eat.
The food was horrible.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Where were you located, Mr. Jeckovich, in the theater of operations? Were you in Europe, Pacific, or North Africa?
Europe.
Would you want to be in North Africa?
No.
Would you want to be in the Pacific?
Nope. But I was lucky.
Mr. Jeckovich, what was your journey like to reach your deployment location? When you finally the war ended, what was your journey like to get your deployment location?
And I got to Wales.
I see.
Wales is England.
Mr. Jeckovich, because you're in the infantry, what kind of training did you receive before going into combat?
Double time every day.
I see. Mr. Jeckovich, when you're in the coldest winter of record at the Ardennes Forest, Did you have the proper clothing?
No.
As a result, what happened?
Well, I got transfoot, frostbite, and everything else.
And you're still suffering
I
some...
still got frostbite, yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich, how can you describe to us the typical day on the front lines?
Typical day on the front line. Most of it's boredom, but then all of a sudden all hell breaks loose for half a day, and that calms down and starts over again.
And then it starts up again.
Yeah, the patrol's going back and forth.
Mr. Jeckovich, what was the biggest challenges you faced in combat?
I faced in combat, staying alive.
And we should make a side note, Mr. Jeckovich was shot in the shoulder by a sniper. He got trench foot, frostbite.
Lost a hip.
He had a dirty bomb go over his head, and he still has shrapnel in his leg. He was sent to a hospital in Paris, and a couple of months to recover. And then, if you're able to, because the war was hot and heavy now, if you're able to pull a trigger of your machine gun, and if you're able to walk, what were you considered?
Fit for duty.
Fit for duty. Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich, what weapons did you use during the war?
What weapons? My pistol, carbine, machine gun, flamethrower.
Did you have a heavy duty machine gun?
Yeah.
Was it
Air cooled, water cooled.
water cooled? Minutes, please. Did you experience any of the battles in D-Day, Battle of Stalingrad,
13.
Battle of Bulge, or Iwo Jima?
Iwo Jima was in Europe. It was
Did you?
Pacific.
How about Stalingrad or D-Day?
I was too late. I was too
Too young.
Yeah.
How about the Battle of Bulge?
Yeah, I was in that, yeah.
Okay.
They thought the war was over, and they all started
Came out of the woodwork.
shedding some hope and everything else.
600 Nazis coming out of the Battle of Ardennes Forest. What was the most frightening moment you experienced during combat?
During the combat?
What was the most frightening experience?
When it was nighttime. Nighttime was bad.
Nighttime was bad?
Yeah.
Is that when all the firing would start?
Well, people out in patrols and had put guards out and everything else.
Okay. Did you, Mr. Jeckovich, did you ever see a close friend or comrade get killed or injured during World War II?
Did you?
Mr. Jeckovich, during World War II, did you ever see a close friend or comrade get killed or injured?
Yeah,
during World
Donald Lape.
Donald Lape.
Yeah.
What happened to Donald Lape?
Well, he wasn't street smart at all. And it was my duty to keep track of him, and I guess, I lost him.
Yeah.
He got an overhead burst and cut his head off.
Yeah. And just his glasses was hanging from one ear. And then you wrote a nice letter to his mother.
Yeah.
Ironically, Donald Lape was 18 years old. He wasn't street smart. Mr. Jeckovich was. Donald Lape got his head blown up, the same bomb that's got shrapnel. And Mr. Jeckovich's leg still to this date. But ironically, Donald Lape's brother lived 2 blocks away from Mr. Jeckovich in Florida, and we didn't know it until it was too late. When Donald Lape's brother died after being a resident next to Mr. Jeckovich in Florida, we found out too late. It would have been nice if the two knew that then. Let's see. Mr. Jeckovich, how did you cope with the stress of war?
Stress of war?
Yeah.
Well, your biggest occupation was trying to stay alive. I was homesick. I wanted to get home.
Yeah.
I thought about the mother and the kids at home, what I did at home when everything was peaceful, what I did on a Sunday.
Yeah.
When I got in the service overseas, everything was different.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich, did you stay in contact with your family while you were overseas?
I wrote my mother a letter every day.
What were those letters called?
Emails.
Uh-huh.
No, I wrote a regular letter, but when the signal corps sent them all to the states, they put them in email.
We put them in a V-mail and censor them.
It was censored and it had they put more mails out that day.
About how many V-mails did you send to your mother?
Well, one a day, there was probably 150 in there, and so I threw them all out.
Oh, what a travesty. Oh my God.
A lot of history there.
Besides V-mail, were you able to communicate with your mother from overseas?
I call her once in a while on the phone, yeah.
And she's very surprised.
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the things you talk about?
What's going on? How you doing work? And then, well, that was winter time. I said, how are you doing with the winter time? Is the furnace all right? Are you keeping them warm? Are you getting the cold in there? Are you getting the pea cold in it for
So
the
it was a
furnace?
nice conversation.
What?
It was a nice conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I missed her cooking.
9 minutes.
What's that?
I said, I told her I missed her cooking. I missed her rolls.
Oh, yeah.
The rolls she made.
Your mother was the best cook. Mr. Jeckovich, when you were in overseas, did you receive any letters or packages?
Yeah, so once in a while, yeah.
Does
That was
any,
from my mother, yeah.
does any stand out?
Huh?
Does any particular package stand out?
What do you mean stand up?
Anyone that you remember the most?
No, they wrap it up in brown paper, tied up with a string on that, and my P.O. box number on it.
Mr. Jeckovich, when you were drafted to World War II, were you married?
No.
No. Mr. Jeckovich, how did you feel about returning home after the war?
I was apprehensive because I didn't know how to handle it.
And how was it when you returned home? How was it, like, say,
Well,
the
first of all, I had to get used to my mother.
get used to your mother?
And I had to get back to used to my mother, yeah.
You had an interesting story the first day you got home. You said something about orange juice. Could you tell us that?
Yeah, well, when I got home, I got in at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was over home. I knew where the key was on top of the mailbox up there. Opened up and there was a glass of orange juice, so I drank it. And the first thing the mother says, "You drank my orange juice."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you remember the most, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Jeckovich, how did your war experiences impact your life after your services?
Well, I always related what I did before and what I did during the services. What I did in the service, I never did it at home.
Oh, I see. Mr. Jeckovich, did you use the GI Bill to further your education?
I should have, but then my father died and I couldn't go.
You had to take care of your mother. Mr. Jeckovich, did you use the GI Bill to buy a house with no money down?
I could have, yeah.
But you didn't do it.
I didn't do it, no. What am I going to do? Buy a house and where to live with my mother?
Right, right. I understand.
We were convenient. We were living upstairs, she was living downstairs. We were connected both ways.
Mr. Jeckovich, what kind of work did you do after the war?
Well, I got unemployment. I worked for Carswell for a while. Where my uncle worked there.
What does Croysdale do?
Carswell did sheet metal work.
In fact, on your draft induction to go into the Buffalo, it says occupation, sheet metal worker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I thought that was going to put me in the Air Force, but it didn't.
No, yeah. Well, you survived it. Mr. Jeckovich, do you still stay connected with other veterans from your unit?
And during the war?
Now, do you still stay connected with the other veterans from your unit?
No.
No.
5.5.
Mr. Jeckovich, what was the most important lesson you learned from your time in the military?
When I learned in the military?
Yeah.
It was a damn good experience.
Do you think youngsters today should go in?
I think they had the CC when I was young. They should start that up again.
What was it called?
Civilian Corps.
I see. And you think if a youngster today at the age of 18 Enlisted, what branch of service do you think you'd be best in?
They would be in a volunteer civil service thing. They would be out there for a year and then get out.
I see. Mr. Jeckovich, what are your thoughts about the atomic bomb being dropped on Japan?
That was the best thing that happened.
And why is that?
It started the war up.
Right. Mr. Jeckovich, do you remember Victory in Europe Day, VE Day, or Victory over Japan Day, VJ Day?
I remember VE Day in Europe, and I was in England then. Yeah.
Tell us what you remember.
Well, the English were ecstatic about it. They were getting bombed every day.
They lost a lot.
24 hours a day they were bombed. They spent most of the time in the dugouts.
Yeah, fallout shelters, right?
Yeah.
And there was all their real estate was blown to shreds.
Yeah.
Rubble.
The food wasn't there. They didn't have a lot of food. Wasn't there. So when I got over there, I get the mess size to give me stuff. I would give it to the English people because they never had it for a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tell us that story. Tell us that story. That's about Gene Roland Young's family. In fact, we've hired private investigators to find Gene Roland Young, Haverford, Westlake, Wales, and neither one of them could find them. In fact, we had our connections from the Daily Mail in London, England, which is circulation about 1 million a day, wrote a full-page story about Mr. Jeckovich and Gene Roland Young. That was his girlfriend at the time. And even the Daily Mail couldn't stir up one lead. So tell us about how you gave Gene Roland Young the food and how you brought it to her.
Well, I get the food from the mess hall, put it back in my trailer in the Jeep, and take it over and give it to the people.
Did you actually go there in 6x6s also?
The what?
Did you also have it delivered by 6x6s? 6x6 vehicles?
No, I wouldn't put another army vehicle there. I would do it all by myself.
I see. And tell us, when you brought them, what was the size cans?
Number 10s.
Number 10, that's a big can.
Well, it's a can.
It's like a...
Like that can up way on top.
okay, it's a big can.
Yeah, number
It's
10.
like a commercial can.
Yeah.
And tell us how they reacted when you brought them all this food.
Oh, they started crying, and they missed that stuff for during the war.
Yeah.
They didn't get it.
Because the rations were bad.
Yeah.
Minutes, please. And then when you were with Gene Roland Young at Haverford West, tell us how you'd be...
2 minutes.
Tell us how you'd be sitting at the park at night and watching the Spitfires going by.
Oh yeah, that was scary because when they went out there, those Spitfires had a true fire out the back at exhaust, and they would come down real high. The fat engines were flying real.
So it's a scary sight to see.
Yeah.
And those were with Rolls-Royce engines, I take it.
Yeah. And every day those poor guys, 19, 20 years old, 9, 10 o'clock are out there going over there.
Wow. Did you see them coming back?
Well, they come back, but I never counted them, but I imagine they lost a couple of people over there every time.
So the Americans were bombing during the day, Berlin, and the RAF was bombing at night.
Yeah.
And so they basically turned Germany into rubble.
Well, they killed all the manufacturing.
All the manufacturing. Minutes?
Yeah.
1 in 10 seconds.
Wow. And about how many Spitfires would you see flying across nightly?
They were in the formation, probably, I'd say 6 or 7 of them in the formation.
Was that just when it became dark, or was that in the...
When they went in.
Did you actually see them coming back, though?
Yeah, they come back, but when they came back, they looked like they had fewer numbers coming back.
About how many hours was it by time?
I said, well, they went in at night, say 10 o'clock at night, and they come pulling back in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
So they've gone a while.
Yeah.
Probably their tanks were just about empty.
Yeah.
Seconds.
No, the tanks were just empty. It took them maybe 4 hours to get over there and 4 hours back.
Okay. Well, we got another one in the books. What would you like to do now?
Well, let's put on Trump again, huh?
Okay, we did a great
You
job.
know, when you got any more questions?
Yeah, but our time's up at the studio. There's only 30 minutes at the studio. we'll pick up, we have more questions. We'll pick
Yeah.
up the rest of questions tomorrow.
Okay.
That's good. We'll make it tomorrow.
It's in the books?
It's almost.
Okay, we got another one in the books.